Beyond the Paddle, powered by Best 4 nutritional supplements. Good, better, best for you and your family.
Well, good afternoon and welcome to Paddlers wherever you are. We're coming to you live from downtown Johannesburg. Pretty wintry Johannesburg, it must be said. And for the next hour, streaming worldwide, we're going to be chatting about issues relating to paddling. And it's a real buzz. It's 30-odd days to the Olympics, so that's going to be hogging the limelight. In a few weeks' time, we're going to be having a look at what's happening in the Cape because the Berg is just about to take place there. And the good news is that Best 4 Healthcare has leapt in and got involved there as well. So there's going to be some exciting new developments there. We're looking forward to that enormously as well. A lot of paddlers getting up to that peak stage in their training. And a lot of the paddlers who've been training through the Gauteng winter here have been putting in some seriously long, hard yards through what has turned out to be a really cold winter. In a few moments' time, I'll be introducing you to my second guest, Oscar Chalupsky, who, as many people know now, has just won yet another Molokai. We'll talk about that. We'll talk about how he did it. Can he do it again? Can he do it when he's 50? And we'll be talking about a whole bunch of other issues that are related to canoeing in South Africa. But in the meantime, it's my real pleasure to welcome our first guest. And I've got to say, you're a whole lot prettier than Oscar. Nicole Flint, former Miss South Africa, who is about to enter the world of broadcasting and about to go to the Olympics. You must be so stoked.
I'm happy that I am prettier than Oscar, first of all.
And it's not even close.
It's quite a gap. Yeah, I'm glad. But yeah, really excited. Leaving on the 19th of July, so we're there just before it starts to obviously get inserts and all sorts of things. So really excited. I've never been to an Olympics. We were chatting about it before the time. But I think it's something that's, it's something on my bucket list. I can say I've been there, done that, and I'd definitely love to go to all of them.
And you've got an amazingly cool job because we will see all the telecasts of the events, but I think your job is to drill down and see the ordinary people running around at the Olympics and maybe get a sense of what it's like in between the big finals. And
100%. And I think, Dave, it's so important to know what's happening behind the scenes, We're trying to bring the Olympics home and for South Africans to relate to what's happening overseas and what's happening in London. And London's such a great city to be hosting the Olympics once again. So I think, we're going to the normal person in the pub, what's happening, where you're watching the Olympics. And we were able to interview Ryk Neethling and Olympic golds from years ago to chat to them about how they were feeling now that these races are taking place and things like that. So we've got access to them, which is great. And just going to Trafalgar Square, for instance, and just going, how are you guys watching the Olympics this year? So it's going to be colourful inserts, fun stuff.
I can see you're really looking forward to this.
I can't wait.
Okay, the one thing we do in the online version of Best 4 Beyond the Paddle is we give you an opportunity to answer the questions. All you can do is either send us a tweet anything, and at Beyond the Paddle. That's all you have to do. At Beyond the Paddle, we'll pick up the mention and I'll farm that question. So Twitter, at Beyond the Paddle. That's exactly what you need to do. If you want to use Facebook, you can find us on Best 4 Beyond the Paddle. Post your questions there. We'll get them straight away to our studio guests. Remember, you can catch us online at beyondthepaddle.co.za. And if you are watching it on your phone, there's a link to go and watch it on the Mobi stream, which works amazingly well. So if you'd like to send us a question, fire away right now. We'll pick it up on the iPad in the studio. In fact, Nicole's with us for another couple of minutes. If you're quick off the mark, you might even be able to get a question in for Nicole. So let's see if anybody's got quick fingers. While you're heading for your iPad or your PC, I'm going to take you to something really unusual. At Beyond the Paddle, we try and take kayaking to completely new levels, to extremes that we haven't tested before. We know how much you enjoy the extreme kayaking. Well, now, when I say we're taking it to new heights, I'm not bull dusting. Have a look at this, because we're about to go kayaking from 2,500 meters above ground level. Have a look at this. Now, I said extreme kayaking. I wasn't rubbishing. Piling out of a plane in a kayak. This actually started, I think, in the States. We've seen a lot of guys snowboard and they've converted snowboards into skyboards. You can do exactly the same thing in a kayak. The trick with a kayak, look at these moves. You can roll, you have amazing control in the air. No paddle involved, of course. The trick in the kayak is to make sure that you stay in the kayak when you open your parachute. But these guys are particularly good. There's a whole sect in Europe which has opened up after it started in the United States. But it is a seriously weird. And then the trick as well is to land, as these guys are doing, over a lake. Where you pop your chute, you deploy it, and you then fly it so that you skid across the lake and then ideally land somewhere close to the edge where you don't have to paddle with your hands. But yeah, these guys are interesting indeed. About time somebody did some extreme sky kayaking in South Africa. Who's up for the challenge? Have a look at the landing now. And this is a real rush as well, because you're able to skim your boat, plane your boat over the lake, and if you get it right, you hurtle it straight in to the finish. Very cool. And there's the challenge. Who's the South African that we first want to film sky kayaking? It looked a bit weird, didn't it?
I can't, like, I'm trying to keep up with adventure sport, and I'm thinking my bucket list's getting longer and longer, and I'm not ticking off things quick enough because I'm an adventure addict. I love that stuff. I've just come back from Kilimanjaro and 2 weeks ago, so definitely something I'd do.
So your bucket list as far as these sort of adventure sports would include? Give me a wish list.
Oh, my word.
I mean, commit to it now. Are we going to see you, for example,
Dave,
doing a doozy?
I would love to do a doozy.
Okay,
so,
you're being witnessed, eh? Okay.
yeah,
You'd
it's
love
fine,
to do a
but I
doozy.
need a trainer.
Okay.
Okay, so if
I see
Oscar's
Oscar
willing,
grinning in the background. He's done this
that's what I'm
before.
thinking.
He did it with Peggy Sue Kumalo, I think.
You're kidding.
She
You see?
survived.
She survived, so there we go. And she was an ex-Miss SA. I'm up for the challenge. Absolutely. So, I'd do it.
Well, I've got a question coming in straight away from Roger saying, would you do a doozy?
You see, Roger, I'd so do a doozy. So, but how long, I mean, we're in what? We're 2012. How long will it take me to train?
Well, you got to train for mid-February. You'd need the summer season. You need to get your basic proficiency
Okay.
done now. Start doing river races come October. Do a really good river race like the Hunter Fish,
Yeah.
and then train for the doozy. So, yeah, it's not impossible.
Okay.
Go and chat to Sias du Plessis.
Yes.
Sias did it this year in his first season, and he styled the whole way. So it's
Did
on.
he?
Yeah.
Okay, but I need a good partner. I need a good
Okay.
a guy.
Well,
It's somebody that can paddle me all the way.
negotiate with Oscar as soon
Okay.
as it's done. What's going to be interesting about your trip to London is that the two canoeing events, you've got slalom canoeing and flatwater canoeing, are happening outside of the city. Because my experience from Beijing and from Athens is that the city becomes mad. It's overloaded with tourists. The hype is fantastic. But you look forward to those days when you can get out to a venue that's in the forest, and you're going into the Nottingham area, which is going to be beautiful if you see the canoeing.
Well, that's the thing, and I think I've never been to Nottingham. I've been to London, so it's great to get out and to follow what's happening there. And I mean, I've learned all about canoeing, a few weeks ago. So I know a bit about it. I know what to expect, and I know our athletes are really trying to go for gold. So yeah, we'll see how it goes, and I can't wait.
Okay, here's another question from Kyle saying, why doesn't Balls Radio do more paddling?
Absolutely, I've been trying all the time. So I will chat to the guys, Kyle. But Joe, I think it's definitely a sport that we've got to get more, more interest on.
I
in
believe
South
the guys
Africa.
at Emmarentia tried to coax you onto the water.
They did. I was late, luckily, because it's the middle of winter. I don't know how they do it.
You're being a girl.
I know, I am being a girl, but there were only a few girls on the water that night. So, but I think definitely the challenge was up there. But I was late, thank goodness, because I was on air still. So, but definitely that's why I was chatting to them, and a lot of guys were like, "We'll show you how to roll, and we'll show you, give me all this jargon." And I'm thinking, "Oh my gosh, I'm gonna die!" But yeah, I'd love to.
Are you a beauty who's got quite a bit of boy in her?
Absolutely. I was such a tomboy when I was younger. That's why people couldn't believe when I won Miss SA. They were kind of like, Nicole, what's happened to you? So, but yeah, definitely. That's why I love adventure sports. I enjoy doing all those crazy things.
So that's part of your legacy. You'll be remembered as the Miss SA that was willing to go and get dirty and...
Absolutely. And I mean, even on the radio station, they say the sport is Miss SA. So that's perfect. I mean, that's great. So
Yeah. Good stuff.
Yeah.
Well, I hope you have a fantastic time in London, where I'm extremely jealous. It'll be the first Olympics I'm missing for a couple of years. So you've taken my spot. Enjoy it. I hope you have a good time visiting the pubs and the London life in amongst all of it.
Thanks,
and when you do
Dave.
get a chance to get to the paddling, where Bridget Hartley is going to be flying the flag for South
Yes,
Africa,
I've
it's
heard.
going to be very, very exciting indeed, because if it's her day, you might just be on site when she bags a medal. So we'll keep our fingers crossed, and I hope you have a really, really fantastic trip.
Thank you. I appreciate it. I'll bring all the footage back.
Good stuff. Thank you for your questions. Our next guest in a few moments' time is Oscar Chalupsky, so we'll introduce you to Oscar. But before we get there, we know there's been a real love of the extreme kayaking that we've shown you, and we're going to show you a clip now for a couple of minutes. But what makes this clip really different, these are some of the best extreme kayakers on the planet Earth. They're going down a seriously dangerous and technical bit of river, but it proves that despite all their planning, things can go wrong. And on this trip, things go very badly wrong. There's a pinning, and it requires a rescue, and a very difficult rescue. So enjoy this bit of extreme kayaking, but more importantly, just realize that there are risks being taken, and you need to plan for those risks. See how these guys get out of trouble. This includes Jared Meehan and some of the best kayakers in the world, so enjoy.
Kayaking is this very different type of experience. Being here in New Zealand, it's the perfect place to practice what we love to do, and that's river exploration.
We're here to hunt the flow, you know, to hunt the rain, to hunt the good weather, to look for those experiences and find them in the right places.
This Flow Hunters project is obviously about exploring some amazing whitewater, but it's also about just enjoying amazing experiences with a group of amazing people.
Kayaking is a sport, but I think it's more than that to all of us. We love the journey, the adventure, travelling to these remote, amazing places and exploring.
Pretty big day. We're shooting with a high-end gyro stabilized camera, and this is kind of a dream come true for me. Our sport's kind of rarely ever been documented in this way before, so we're going to be following a couple local Kiwi boys, Jordy and Darn, down the river, and they're just going to be kind of showing us the lines, and we're going to be probably moving pretty quickly down steep, continuous Class 5 whitewater, and I think the whole group is fired up.
We're pretty blessed with a nice weather day. It's hard to predict the weather on the west coast, and the ducks are starting to align, so let's hope that everything keeps going to plan. But this is what we're here doing, man. This trip's evolving all the time, taking on a little life of its own, and this is another little twist in the tale. We've rallied back up here from Queenstown.
We were bombing down the river like we do, and just moving quickly, not really taking a whole lot of time, and sort of moving through all these rapids. And we got to a rapid called Cover Shot, and Jordy and Darn, who were kind of leading, they both sort of bombed off.
It wasn't really a lapse of concentration.
Jared had him on a rope, and Jared was already starting to get a little bit tired.
Yeah, I got that reminder that everyone gets at some stages that I knew that river like the back of my hand. It was just the river reminding me that it's the boss, and at any moment it can take you. And it can show you how powerful it is.
You're paddling down the river, you're on your A game, and it all seems like you're under control, but we're just like ants floating downstream on the flow. We can't really do much against the water, we can't do much against the environment. We just gotta kind of learn how to play with it, and we gotta learn how to be humble with it. As soon as you let your guard down, as soon as you look back, boom, you're gone. Your life is a very thin line. It's just an adventure the whole way down. It's a learning experience every single day, every single minute, and that's kind of what we're all here for. We're looking for the adventures, the experiences, the learning, and just kind of living the moment. So yeah, that's what we're gonna keep doing.
Let's face it, no one's ever satisfied with mediocrity, underachieving, or being second best. That's why Best 4 has developed a superior quality nutritional supplement range that helps you to achieve optimal health so you can perform at your peak and do whatever it is you do best. Best 4's omega-3 supplement range, which is 100% derived from krill oil, is available for both adults and baby development in expectant moms. Their Best 4 allergy prevention range has been specifically formulated for the needs of children as well as adults. Now available at Dis-Chem and other leading pharmacies, Best 4 nutritional supplements are good, better, best for you and every member of your family. Well, welcome back, and we continue our discussion of all things to do with paddling. Oskar Chalupsky, my guest in the studio. Oskar, I know we've said this before. We had a phone chat with you on the last show. Congratulations for the Molokai. You've been fairly bombarded with compliments for this one, eh?
Yeah, it's amazing. Even some of the people are saying, gee, now that you've won 12, you must know something about the sport of canoeing and surf lifesaving and paddle skiing and surf skiing. It's amazing. I mean, I've won 11, you'd think that'd be enough, but 12 seems to be the cherry on the top.
And they're already asking the question about 13 and 50 and whether there's a
Well, I mean, the funny thing is, this year I went to the Molokai thinking, okay, I'm going to practice so that I can get good for my 50th, to try and win it when I'm 50. And I thought, okay, but I did all the hard yards, and then suddenly I won it. So it was a little bit of surprise, but not really, but because I put the work in. So I think I've got to just sort of get my weight down to fighting weight, and then I should be fine.
Let's unpack that a little bit, because there were 2 Durban guys that went to the Molokai. We don't really see you guys training. It's at a time of year when nobody's doing the long yards for surf ski paddling. Matt Bowman went over there to give it a really serious go. He had a plan. Your plan was very different, though, wasn't it?
And I think completely different.
The outcome speaks for perhaps which is the way to go.
Yeah, I mean, I think the biggest problem is that Matthew used is it Maurice Melk or something?
Marcus Melk.
Marcus Melk to do his planning, and again, that in itself. If he's not a surf ski paddler, he doesn't understand the strains and what the Molokai. And if you haven't done the Molokai, that's even worse. So those are 2 things. I mean, to take the difference is that Clint Pretorius, when he did everything I did. Whatever I did, he did it.
Yeah.
And he managed to beat me. In fact, I taught him too well. But Matthew went another route. Matthew said, no, I wouldn't mess with his brain if I trained with him. But it's not the case. I don't mind helping anybody. And I think you've got to put the hard yards. That race is tougher than anybody.
And it's hot, isn't it? That's the one thing. It's damn hot. So how do you train for heat?
Well, you see, normally I was paddling with 2 or 3 Craft or Hillians and with the anorak on. So I would blow on 3-hour paddles like you can't believe. Like as if I was in the middle of the Doozy Valley in the middle of summer. So with the downwind and having all these layers of clothes, I was overheating the whole time, every time I paddled.
Interesting. Now, you race Molokai as usual with a safety boat.
Yes.
You have 1 or 2 safety boats attached to you,
yeah.
1 safety boat attached to you. Didn't have the most supportive crew on board, I believe.
Well, I had a family. They've been supporting me since 1983 when I did my first one, and the husband was saying, no, he's just picking these guys up, and the wife, who's a top paddler, and she's been to Junior Olympics and things like that, saying, no, Oscar, 6th place, he's got no chance, man. And the husband and the son said, no, he's going to win it. You can see it's going to happen. So that was a bit of a fight between and they couldn't believe that it happened. I mean, she couldn't believe it, you know, you can imagine.
Let's look at some of the Molokai footage as we go through it, because the Molokai, like any big open ocean surf ski race, you don't really know where you are, do you?
No, I mean, the whole thing is not like a Comrades Marathon or anything like that. It's all over the place. I mean, you never know when and where you are in the ocean and where your opposition is, because your opposition can be 200 meters on the left, but you won't see them because there's too many waves.
Are you allowed to ask your boat for tips and clues?
Absolutely, you can. But I mean, they don't get that close, and you want them far away from you, so it's quite difficult to actually see them and call them towards you, and you just concentrate on your race. So in the old days, the Aussies always used to get their juice handed by the escort boats, and I never, from day one, I always took everything on board. Take everything on board, and that's the last time you see your escort boat. You don't really need an escort boat. Yeah, I mean, here we are coming towards the end, trying to concentrate as hard as I can to conserve energy. This is right at the end where
big runs.
Yeah, not like I would like to have them. I mean, you stop paddling for a few strokes, but you can see you're still concentrating the whole time. And right here is Dean is straight behind me, and this is coming into the finish where you can see going to the wind.
Yeah.
And now I've reduced my paddle length to 2:10 at this stage. By then, as I say, I started 2:15 and went down all the way down to 2:10 because you're paddling into the wind, you're going slower. And then I had Clint Robinson 19 seconds behind me, who was really fast, and he was really psyched up to win 3rd in the row in this race.
And be honest, had you gone bang? Were you flat?
I was flat, but again, the body can take a lot more than you think it can, and here you see I was looking around just to make sure that I had enough lead, and you can see Clint in this picture just straight behind 19 seconds, and what happened, he started coming at me fast. I didn't realize, I thought it was Dean Gardner behind me, and here I'm really completely buggered. I actually can't breathe at this stage, trying to stop my
Is there
Garmin.
room for mental emotion at this stage, Oscar? I mean,
it just suddenly takes over. You just cannot believe you won, because the whole way through I thought Clint was going to be a long way ahead, so I didn't know. And then when I hit the front, they said, no, you are actually in front. You straight away, your emotions change. I mean, I've been doing this race for a long time. At 49, you don't expect to win, you know. There's always this pent up, no, you can't really do it at this age. You shouldn't be able to do it. And Matt Bowman's going faster. Clint Robinson's going for his 3rd in a row. And I think that's also a problem with Clint Robinson. Clint Robinson's got this different feeling. He thinks that he can just break the record. It doesn't work like that. I used to try and do, I'm going to break the record. I didn't even worry about the opposition. But you've got to actually worry about the opposition in this race, because you have ups and downs. It's like the Comrades Marathon. I mean, the guy's going very well, and then he hits a puncher, and that's him, gone. He comes 10th.
Yeah.
It's the same in this race.
So you manage it race by race. It's conditions. I mean, a change in the currents could change everything.
Yeah. I mean, again, your opposition, the guys feel good, and you think, gee, this guy's going so fast. Meantime, it's just last straw. I mean, Matthew was up there with Clint Robinson the whole time, and they were going really fast. And then Dean Gardner caught Matt Bowman, and then Matt Bowman had to pull a little bit harder, and that popped him. Just that little bit at 2 hours took him out, And where I was pacing, and I said, okay, now I'm going to go and catch them. It was a fun race. It was like cat and mouse. I would take off, and I didn't want to go as fast as these guys, and they got 500 meters, so maybe 2 minutes ahead, 2.5 minutes ahead, and then suddenly I saw, I'm starting to catch these guys. After about 2 hours, they started coming towards me, and then I put the only guy in front of me was Dean Gardner, so I changed my paddle to 2:13, took my goo, took my Cytomax, got ready to take him on, went out, caught him, overtook him, and then normally when I overtook him, he just collapses and doesn't come anywhere, but this time he actually just carried on paddling. I looked around, he was still there. But I knew in the flat water he had no chance. So just before I come around, I think I'd reduce my paddle to 2:10 then.
Now, tell me about your paddle reduction. Do you do it the whole time?
The whole time. In all races, even when the old paddles, you had to unscrew it. I used to do in the middle thing, unscrew the thing, but now we've got a quick release paddle, so I just make it shorter. Because as you go slower, like a bicycle, like runners, you don't see the runners striding out at the end of the Comrades Marathon. They're shuffling. They've changed gears. Same with bicycles and same with paddles. There's no difference. I mean, when you're going against the wind, I was going with the wind and I was going about 17, 18 kilometers an hour. Turned around the corner, I was down to 10, and I've got no power. So you just reduce it.
So just over the Molokai, what did you start with?
2:15.
Okay, and how many times did you change it over the...
Twice. I went to 2:13 when I decided to go. I was going to catch Dean. Reduced it on a run. You don't even waste anything. And then as I was coming into the flat section, just before we turned around completely in the wind, down to 2:10 to the shortest thing, and off I go.
Would you ever change the angle of the blades?
No, angle is quite difficult because you get used to that over many years. So you don't change the angle. It feels funny for about 3 strokes when it's shorter because the oval's in a different place. But it doesn't make any. It makes a huge difference to your strength. And you feel much better. You've suddenly got a different gear.
Okay, well, it's a trick that a lot of paddlers should pick up. Oscar, I'm going to stir the pot here. It shouldn't happen. With the greatest of respect, you're 49, you don't look like young Apollo, and here's Clint Robinson, an Olympic gold medalist who's won this thing twice. It shouldn't happen. Why?
The reason why I'm still paddling is so I can eat and drink and be merry all the time. Otherwise, I'd look like a beach whale because indulge so much. So that's number one. And I think I've got a good balance. The whole thing is about this balance of having time to train, and when I train hard, and I'm quite scientific about it. I've got all my Garmins, I've got everything. I really make sure that I'm well prepared. I did 53. I can tell you every single training session that I've done for 10 or 15 years. It's all on the web. Anybody can look at it as well. So I'm very scientific, even though I'm happy-go-lucky, and I make sure everything's prepared well, and I always prepare well, and I believe I can win. I don't believe that I can't win, and I don't believe age makes much difference to me. I mean, I look at a guy like Greg Barton, he's like 4 or 5 years older than me, and he can sprint with the best in the world, so there's no reason why I can't be up there. But I need to, on the 10th, there'll be a lot of people on the 50th year, there'll be a lot of people after me, so I'll have to get a lot fitter.
As long as your son's not out there, because your son's paddling well. He might just give you a run for your money.
He's a long way before he catches me.
You play good golf as well, it must be said, looking on the past weekend. Well done.
It was good. I was happy to win that. I set myself a goal. As soon as I came back from Molokai, I put up the paddle and took up the golf thing. So I won the better ball, and I was actually doing quite well in the individual. And in hindsight, again, was like the Molokai. I didn't realize how bad everybody else was doing, and I should have actually carried on trying for the individual. But I didn't. I went for the better ball and won it, so I achieved what I set out to achieve, which is good. And I enjoy my golf a lot.
Okay, Oscar's in the studio. We've got him for another 45 minutes or so. So if you want to ask a question, remember it's very simple. Twitter, you find the handle Beyond the Paddle. So just include @BeyondThePaddle in your tweet. You can find us on Facebook at Best4BeyondThePaddle and just post a status update there. We'll pick that up. Or you can send it to us by email by just going to the website that you're probably watching this on anyhow, beyondthepaddle.co.za. Oscar, we've got some good questions and we're going to try and get through as many of these. Obviously, you travel a lot, traveling big time zones like you do to Molokai. What is your trick for staying well? This is Kobus, I think, that sent the question. How do you stay fit and healthy and avoid the niggles?
Yeah, exactly. Well, a lot of people, they number one is like Hawaii is 12 time zones away. So basically, the time now in Hawaii is 1 o'clock in the morning, and it's 1 o'clock in the afternoon here. So you've got 12 time zones. When I arrive there, I just straight away get into the routine of Hawaiian time. I force myself. I will not go to sleep or anything. And then if you have a big night, drink and everything, so you actually go to sleep, and then you'll sleep hopefully longer then, and you'll always wake up. And I found for every time zone you need 1 day at least. So it's funny, I used to monitor my heart at night, put a heart strap on, and it took me about 8 days before my heart was back down to 42 when I got up in the morning. Otherwise it would still be at 56, and you think you're fine, but your heart rate is not perfect, so you haven't actually recovered. So it takes a while, and then you must eat healthily and make sure that you get enough sleep, because that's to recover from those long flights.
Oh, good question. Keep those questions coming. We'll get those to Oscar as and when he gets in. There's another question about Luke. Strangely, what are Luke's plans for racing? Do you see him as being a seriously competitive racer, or do you, as his dad, try and give him some sort of balance and make sure that racing is fun? What's the thinking?
Well, I think he's realised when you win, it's more fun than when you're coming last, and you have to do the same amount of practice whether you're going to come first or last. The whole thing is, my father always said, if you want to do something, do it properly. So you might as well train hard and do it. I leave him to his own devices, but if he's going to train, he better train hard. And if he's going to do a race, it's called a race. It's not called having fun. That's what I'm about. Going to race, you go and race as hard as you can and try and do as best as you can. It's up to him for what he wants to achieve. I don't push that much, but one thing I will do is, if you're going to do it properly. My father did that. He didn't really push us. He used to say, come swimming in the morning, I'm going to go at 6 o'clock, you want to come or not come? If you didn't want to come, you didn't go. But when you went there, you had to train hard.
Talk to me about those days, because yourself and Herman grew up in an environment where Paul was a great competitor, and you obviously grew up in an environment where he was ready to work very hard at his sport. What is it like growing up? Was it intense? Was it fiercely competitive?
I think probably was, but that was just normal for us. It was Herman and I racing against, we won the Ironman for 13 years in a row. Either him or I won it every year for 13 years. So you can imagine, every time we were racing, I was racing against Herman, the ski race, double ski race, and we used to race together as well. So there's never any love lost trying to beat your brother, but we were brought up in an environment, and if you dinner table, if you didn't eat your food fast enough, there's no way you would have got seconds. The boys were all racing for food even. So my whole life was being competitive.
And it was a very clean living upbringing, even after you'd left
home,
wasn't it?
Yeah,
you certainly weren't a last one to leave the party until...
No. I didn't. Yeah, and in fact at 25, I think I got married at 25. I never drunk. I didn't even drink before 25. So and then I'm making up fast.
Keep your questions coming for Oscar. In a moment or two's time, we're going to have a look at some of the footage from the SA Marathon Champs, which happened down in the Western Cape. It coincided with a cold front arriving that hammered the country, and the guys that got down there to train at Mofam Dam copped it. But let's have a look at some of the footage from the Marathon Champs that happened down in Mofam. And not only the SA Marathon Champs, the key thing is it's the selection. It's the one-off selection trial for the team that's going to be going to Rome a little bit later in the year to compete in the World Championships there. And of course, Hank McGregor out to go and try and defend his title. Oscar, your feeling on Marathon Champs at the moment? It always attracts a small field of elite paddlers.
You see, and I've been talking to the RCF and things like that. I really think they've got to think out the box. When the sport's dying like that is in South Africa, you've got to change it. And I've spoken to them. I said, why would you want a paddling race to have running in it? It's like having the 10,000 metre and have a 25 metre swim. You'd eliminate every single African runner out of the sport. Now you've got the Greg Bardens, you've got people that just can't run. I heard this was also a fiasco. Many people broke their rudders. This is not, and I've told them all we want to do is get a chute with a little lane of 100 meters or 50 meters where there's only one room for one boat, and off you go. You don't get out of your boat, no damage. Yes, it'll be so exciting because everybody's going to be fighting to get in there, and there'll be one single file, and the guy can take off, and it'll split it up. What is this? Are we doing paddling, or are we doing a running to get in our boat? And that's called a doozy. Yeah. We've got enough of that. We're not going to be competitive, and we're losing battle. All the guys at 55, what do you want to go and run? Half the people can't walk at 55 and 65 and 75. So we're killing the sport. That's why surf lifesaving and surf ski paddling is growing and growing and growing. Yeah. And I think we've got to really look at it. And I hope they do, because then maybe I'd go and paddle. I don't want to get out of my boat. What do I want to do that for?
Sure, a good point. Well, let's have a look at some of the footage. But what interests me is that we've got this massive focus on Masters age group paddling. Down at Mofam, you'll see in the pictures here, we're looking at the seniors and the under-23s. But yeah, just in a moment or two's time, we'll unpack this for a moment of time. But let's head down to MoFam and have a look at some of the footage from the SA Marathon Champs. It's a beautiful venue. I mean, MoFam is actually a bendy bit of river, and it's for all the portages that have to be done and the sort of out and back loops. It is very well suited. Great to see Alexa Cole making a comeback. She's of course got a silver medal before at World Marathon Champs with Donia Kamstra. But it's strange. Like, we had the senior woman and the under 23 woman racing in the same race.
And
together.
how many were there?
Well, you can see there's 10 boats in the start line, I think.
Yeah, I mean,
but it's curious that they were racing together with the under 23s doing a lap less. And they raced together and shared the way.
That shouldn't happen, because I mean they can influence the results.
It's curious, but the interesting thing is that the veterans and the masters who are competing in a place for the Masters Cup team outnumbered the seniors and the under 18s and the under 23s.
It happens even in Spain and all those places. You'll find that the Spanish team have got their small elite team, and the Spanish come with about 60 masters and vets.
Awesome. And there's Robin Keim coming home to win the under-23s from Esti van Tonder. Now have a look at this. Here's our world marathon champ, Hank McGregor. I want your take on Hank. Look at that speed off the start line.
Yeah, he's really giving it go. He likes going off fast, and that's important in swimming. And there's Len.
Look at Lance King going down. That's a horrific moment for him.
Yeah, I mean, again, what is this? What are we covering here?
And we're knocking understern rudders off boats.
Yeah.
Hank has now at least changed that.
But in fact, that's against the rules. I mean, how they change the rules, it's amazing. You can't have an understern. You can have an overstern, but you can't have something to protect the weeds off your understern. So it's becoming a bit of a joke, and I think that's shocking that there can be rules for different people, you know. That suddenly is a longer boat.
Yeah, correct. Give me your take on Hank McGregor.
No, he's a fantastic athlete. I still think he's got more potential than he actually has achieved, because he lets himself down in some races where he should never be so far back. You know, it's amazing. I don't know what clicks in him when he doesn't. He's not in the top. I don't know how he had of his ability. He's not in the top. You know, there's been some races where he comes 10th, and I said no way. You know, so I think it looks like he's maturing and he's getting better, and I'm sure he's going to go from strength to strength. You know, and again, those are the kind of guys that should be going to the Olympics.
Olympics, I mean, you had a taste of Olympics through very freakish circumstances. I mean, you were drafted in that, I don't want to belittle the team, but it was almost like an honorary team that was picked to go to Barcelona. Yeah. So you had a taste of the Olympics, but your career was basically robbed of the chance to go to the Olympics.
Correct. I mean, I had no chance. Although, I went to Germany and I competed in Germany in the German national team, and I got some good results there. But, yeah, I mean, we completely devoid of any... I mean, we were told 4 months before the Olympics were going. As I say, it was a big thing. I mean, there was probably more guys doing sprints then than there are now. So it was quite a hard team to make. They were good guys, but I think if we had a bit more, again, it's the coaching and everything. I raced against all those guys at the Olympics in a surf ski over a short distance and managed to beat them. But when I got in a canoe, they beat me. There's something wrong. And I wasn't my coach. I wasn't the coach.
Is that a frustration? Would you have loved to have had a good shot at the Olympics?
Yeah, I think because I mean, when I was 14 and 15, I was really fast amongst the seniors, and I didn't have the opportunity. Which, again, you can't cry over spilt milk, but we've got to change something. I mean, we've got such a fantastic country of great canoeists, and we haven't even got one person in the final. There's something wrong.
We should have an unfair advantage. We have a canoeing culture that most countries dream of, and yet we don't follow it through.
I mean, look at Spain. I mean, they produce the goods.
Yeah.
They produce the goods all the time. And Spain and South Africa are probably a couple on the tote, because we've got a lot of river paddling, which is fun, and you've got all the sprinters doing river paddles.
Okay, paddling. I'm going to provocatively make you our national high performance director. I'm going to give you carte blanche to change our national setup here. What do we do?
The first thing, we've got to make sprinting fun. And the only way to make sprinting fun is to let the sprinters race other races, so they get a taste of victory. So go in and do some marathon races where you're winning and you're beating guys that you normally don't beat, because now you've got a sprinting background. Because sprinting basically is sort of the base that you need for being a good surf ski paddler, good river paddler, good
marathoner. Yeah.
Good marathon. It fits in everywhere. So it should be everybody should be doing sprinting, and it's not the case, because they make it too strict. They make it too strict. You can't do this, can't do that. They must bring them in. You have a few months of the year that you just hone your skills into sprinting, and I think they'll have a lot of fun. They'll win a lot of races. They'll get a lot of respect, and it'll draw people that have been watching them doing surf ski paddling or marathon paddling into the sprinting. Suddenly sprinting becomes fun because you can watch them overseas.
Now that goes very much against the grain of where the current school of thought is, which says
Absolutely.
sprint and sprint exclusively.
Yeah, I mean, I've seen some youngsters that they were going to do. They weren't allowed to sprint because they did a paddle ski, a surf ski race. So now it was, you're joking, and the guy eventually lose them to the sport. But you never lose. It's funny enough, you lose sprinters to the sport, but you never lose surf ski paddlers and marathon paddlers and river paddlers. They keep on going, but the sprinters all stop.
So take somebody like Greg Lowe, who's been in the news this week as somebody who came so close to getting selection and people bleating that he should have got selection. What would you do to Greg's career right now? Because he's now targeting 2016.
No, that's fantastic. I mean, at the end of the day, you've got to keep the will to do sprinting, and doing that is by doing the fishes and these things. And you can limit it to some of the races that are ridiculous, like the doozy and things like that, which are totally, that actually messes you up for sprinting because it makes you weak and thin. But everything else, I'd do it. Go and do international race, surf ski races where you know the opposition is very good. You're racing against a guy like Clint Robinson, Kenny Wallace, all the top Olympic gold medalists. You're racing against them. But you're in a surf ski, they're in a surf ski, and you can get this feeling that maybe I can beat this person. But if every time you're going down the track, you know you're making a final or know you're making a semi-final, you're going to feel down. And if you're feeling down, you can't. It's hard to get up unless you are exceptional and phenomenal. So that's why I'd like to see them do all these races all over the world.
Okay, well, a couple of questions coming your way. We're talking about Olympics. We're going to continue our discussion with Bridget Hartley. Now, Bridget Hartley, after having raced her 2 World Cups, has now gone and settled down in Linz in Austria, where she's training with the Austrian girls, benchmarking herself against the very best, and is in that key, I think we're 30 days away from the Olympics, a very nervous time when you want to keep your training up, you've got to get your taper right. She's following the plan put in place by Nando Almasi, her coach, who's the Hungarian, who's very much sort of, I think, on a different sort of school of thought to yours. But we caught up with Bridget, who interestingly has had one of her best friends and her coaching allies, Michelle Ire, staying with her in Austria. So let's catch up with what is happening with Bridget Hartley. We're on Skype to Bridge in Austria. Bridget, tell us what you've been up to for the last couple of weeks.
Actually, well, when I was in South Africa, I did some fun things. I did a photo shoot for Vanessa G, Sivi Gandhin's wife, so that was actually really fun. Yeah, basically, I've been training ever since.
Who have you been training with, Bridget?
With the Austrian girls. One of the girls from the K2 Nando coaches as well. And the first week that I was here, the K2 girls from Slovakia and the New Zealand girls came for a few days as well. And then Michelle Ire has joined me now this week and next week.
Have you got any more plans for competitive racing before the Games?
I have an option to race the Austrian Nationals. They don't have so many girls, and it would be good just to have like a proper warm-up, practice, race, everything.
What you've been thinking since Duisburg? You must have had a look back on what happened there and your plans for the run-in.
If I had a look at it, all my racing over the World Cups, I felt like my race plan came together almost every time. And I think that was quite a big positive to take out of it, that I managed to execute the race plan, which is the idea that I want to get right at the Olympics, is to have a good race.
Just sketch the plan between now and when the racing starts, because you said you weren't going to opening ceremony. You were going to stay offshore.
I leave on the 3rd from Austria. And so I'm only in London for 4 days and then I race.
And then the trick is just to stay relaxed and healthy.
That's my worry. For me, it's to make sure I'm eating enough, resting enough, training hard, making every session count, and trusting that my coach has the tapering under control, which I'm sure he does because he managed to get it right for me last year. I was just a bit nervous, I think, until my finals. So I have full confidence that Nando will know what to make me do leading up to the Olympics.
And then going into the Games, I guess you like to have a sort of a tunnel vision. You've got a job to do, you've got a plan in place, you don't want too many distractions.
Whoever manages to do something between now and the Olympics and make themselves a bit quicker or pull away, and who has best big match temperament, I guess, on the day. And I think now it's anybody's game. Just
know that everybody's got thumbs being held for you.
Cool, thanks. It's good to know. I love the support.
Let's face it, no one's ever satisfied with mediocrity, underachieving, or being second best. That's why Best 4 has developed a superior quality nutritional supplement range that helps you to achieve optimal health so you can perform at your peak and do whatever it is you do best. Best 4's omega-3 supplement range, which is 100% derived from krill oil, is available for both adults and baby development in expectant moms. Their Best 4 allergy prevention range has been specifically formulated for the needs of children as well as adults. Now available at Dis-Chem and other leading pharmacies, Best 4 nutritional supplements are good, better, best for you and every member of your family.
Welcome back to Best 4 Beyond the Paddle, the live web streaming version. Remember, questions for my studio guest, Oscar Chilosky, you can do by Twitter. Simply use @BeyondThePaddle as the handle. You can find us on Facebook at Best 4 Beyond the Paddle, so you can post a status update question there, or simply go to the website beyondthepaddle.co.za and post your comment there. Oscar, we're still talking to you as our head coach now. You're our high performance director, head coach. Here's Bridget Hartley sitting in Austria. She's done it on her own. I think where she's got to is pretty darn remarkable, and you've got to sit there and hold thumbs for her in the next 30, 40 days.
No, she's definitely got a very good chance of doing well. I've seen her results. She's right up there. She's just got to put it together on the day for that 1 minute 50 seconds, on that specific day, and that's the hard thing, And I think she's done the right thing training with other girls. You have to have competition. But having said that, if we had a good sprint program here, she'd be training to some of the junior boys, and she'd even get faster, I'd say. So we've got to work around. You've got to bring a team effort into it. At the moment, sprinters are all just individuals. There's the Cape Town group and a Natal group and a Maritzburg, and they don't want to train in Cape Town. They want to train in Durban. You can't have that. That's not going to work, and it's not working. And then you got 3 different coaches, all saying the different things. So nobody knows who's correct. And all I know is the poor athlete is in a rock and a hard place, achieving nothing.
Surely there's a sports science. You're the scientist. You keep loving the technology. Surely there's a sports science answer that would then guide us about the best way to take a South African athlete and succeed at sprinting.
I think there's a lot of science, but the most important thing with most coaches is experience. So if you've been there and you know what works and you've got a whole database of things, and again, this is my problem with Hungarian coaches and the Eastern Bloc coaches. They weren't as scientific. They might have been scientific in other ways in the old days, vitamin S and things like that, but now they're not as scientific. You've got so many apps and you've got so much instrumentation that you can really see people. You can video them all the time and download to a central place. It should be. I know, and I've seen even when I was following Sean Rubenstein, some races he was very good. Now, what was the build-up before that race? Okay, let's take that, let's extrapolate, let's how we can improve it. That's how I do it. I said, I've realized that tapering does nothing for me. So I taper nothing. I train all the way up to there, have a day's rest, and off I go and race. Oh, that's impossible.
Yeah.
See, but I know my body. I've got the statistics. Here's my speeds. Here's all my times all the time. And I don't think we're not getting it. They always just go and follow what somebody else is doing. Oh, this is what they do. That's why they're going to do it. But each specific person must have a different sort of microcosm in the general overview. This is what you have to do before a race. This is what the other person has to do. But I don't see it being that scientific.
And surely this is the time to do it now. We're coming to the end of an Olympic cycle. If we really want to have a dart in 2016, we should be doing those things now.
Exactly. Now we've got to decide, and it's got to be a sort of holistic approach between all the provinces. There's so many provincialism they talk about in rugby. In paddling it's also shocking, and that's not going to work. It's got to be a team effort, because the way to get good, and the reason why Herman and I were so fast and racing against the world and beating the world, is because every day we went out training, it was a race. And we were racing number 1 and 2 in the world, and we just got faster and faster. So much so we got way ahead of most of the people around the world for a long time.
Okay, questions coming in for Oscar. Oscar, who is the best partner? I'm not going to tell you who this is from. Who's the best partner you've ever had?
I can imagine.
Think carefully.
I can imagine. He's probably sitting in the studio. He'd probably say, I'm sure the only guy I would say would be Anthony Wald. He won his maiden double ski race from Schlote to Durban, So I think we won the race overall as well, which is not bad. No, I've had a lot of partners, and again, the team boats, K2s, it just shows you. You've got to spend time in a K2 to get good. Obviously Herman and I won the Sella Descent, and Mark Perrin and I won a lot of SA Champs races around. So, as I say, it's fun. Double sprinting is also a lot of fun, and K4 is also a lot of fun. So, the partners, Nas Porter was quite good. Probably in the same league as Anthony Wald. And Peggy Sue and all these people, that's fun. That's how you attract, I believe, to make our sport better, is to get the celebrities from other sports into our boats to see how much fun it is. And that's the way we're growing the sport. And it has grown because of that, I'm sure.
2 3-letter words crop up in your vocab the whole time. One, you've got to win. I think you're hell-bent on winning just about everything you enter, but at the same time, it's fun. How do those two fit into the same picture?
I think that's. I mean, it's a tough one, you know. I mean, take the other extreme scale is Greg Barton, who also got 2 Olympic gold medals. He wouldn't drink. He wouldn't miss a minute of training. He's one of the where I believe that's why I'm still competing. Is that I'll have fun. And it's like, okay, well, there's a golf game going and the wind's blowing. I should be playing. I should be paddling. Okay, the golf sounds well. I'll go to golf today and I'll train hard tomorrow. You know, so it's one of those things. I mean, and if the guys ask you out for a drink and should be paddling, okay, I'll do it. So I'm not so regimented that I know what every second of the day is going to bring for me. You know, so if something happens and I have a lot of fun, that's the most important. But always get back to your training. You know.
Okay, good question from Anne. You've won so much. Is there a favourite win?
No, that question comes up all the time. I mean, it goes back to even like making Natal Schools rugby was like a huge thing from somebody that's never played, and then so to make Natal Schools rugby was a big thing, and then winning the boogie board championships and going to the Olympics. You know, so. Yeah. These are they're huge in anybody's mind, but I mean, winning your first Molokai was amazing. It took me 5 years to actually compete against Grant Kenny, who won the junior and senior Ironman the same time as me when we were both 15, and it took me 5-6 years to reach the goal to actually race the guy who also won junior and senior Ironman. So that was a very sweet victory where I never knew who he was, how good he was. He'd been to the Olympics, he was earning millions, and he was a paddler. And when I won that first one, obviously it was special. And then my 10th one was very special. You know, 11th was good because that was also against Nathan Bagley and Dean Gardner and Clint and all the guys were there. And then this one is, again, just as special because you're not supposed to be winning at this age group. So at 49, it's probably one of our best wins is this one, you know.
Okay. Well, it's brilliant. While you were playing golf, the first ever KZN Surf Ski Champs actually happened over the weekend. Saturday was the singles racing, Sunday was the doubles racing. Let's have a look at some of the action from the Epic Kayaks KZN Surf Ski Champs, Saturday and Sunday. And as we have a look at some of the visuals, the weather just deserted us. The wind left us on what was meant to be a replacement for our World Cup weekend.
Yeah.
We just got becalmed.
Yeah, and it was shocking. It's tough. I mean, that's the only thing. I mean, and it's important to have waiting periods, and hopefully it works out.
Well, I see the talk for this weekend is that Billy is now talking about holding his race until 4 o'clock on Sunday afternoon because there's talk of a northeast coming through. Is that the way to go?
I think it is important because people don't. I mean, surf ski paddling is all about having fun, and having fun is catching runs and going down. I mean, that is flat. There's not a breath of wind, and you might as well go and do that in Nanda Dam. You know, you're going to get the same sort of benefit. Although, having said that, there's always a little bit of bumps. You'll find that K1 paddlers and sprint paddlers never manage to do very well in the sea if they haven't got skill.
For anybody that's never pushed out in a surf ski, it's actually never flat, is it?
No, it's never flat.
The sea is never dead.
No, it's never dead. It's always alive, and that's the big thing. It's a big difference. It's always alive, and you can always. There's the guys always.
And Durban looking like this. This could be the Mediterranean.
Yeah,
that's beautiful. Man.
That's amazing. Very easy to.
And in conditions like this, you've got a 15-boat bunch all riding wave.
Yeah, where you're not going to get that in you'll never get that in where you've got wind. You'll have nobody. Yeah. They'll all be racing their own way and going away. So there's good. Hank's obviously strong. You see, there is a little. You see, there it is. I mean,
yep.
A sprinter would see that and say, "No, this is too rough for me." You know. So
and there's Hank trying to get up onto a bump.
Yeah.
Len Jenkins has made the conversion to surf ski paddling really well.
Yeah, and he's loving it. He's taking a bit of time to get used to it, and it's going to take a bit of time to actually really get good. I mean, at the moment they've only been flat water races, so he hasn't had his real speed tested as yet. Because if it's flat, he's got to be quite good. But when the runs come, that's when it really counts, you know.
And here's Hank coming in at the surf at the finish. The floaty finish chowed so many boats coming in at the World Cup. It's not the most popular finish for paddlers.
No, but it's not. But as I say, I think it's quite a nice venue. It's a nice distance. I mean, there's lots of parking, and it can be easy to do.
And you look at footage like this, and Durban has got to be one of the surf ski capitals of the world. We've got so much.
We've got everything, and it's so much easier to do. Like in Cape Town, the longest paddle you do is 12 kilometers. Beyond that, you have to actually start driving 3 hours to do a 2-hour paddle. I mean, in Durban, I did some paddles before the Molokai where I went from Durban to Scottsboro, 53 kilometers, and you just drive down the coast, spend the week in the coast, and the wind change directions, paddle back again. You know, don't need a car. Should take all my kit with me.
You see a lot of wildlife while you're out in the sea as well. Any experiences there that you would describe as your most memorable?
My most memorable was with Matt Carlisle and Jerome Trim, two very good paddlers in the past. We were fishing in Cozy Bay on our skis, and then a great white came behind us, which must have been about 6 meters. And we're all three of us, and Matt was in the middle, and Jerome was one side, I was on the other side. And then we looked back and we saw this two fins going for Matt. So then we thought the best line of defense was to split up and leave it to Matt, he did the right thing. Yeah, no, he did the right thing. He actually reversed into the shark. Yeah, which is the right thing, because the shark's like a dog. If you start going away, it tries to nail you. So he just reversed into it. But let me tell you, we didn't put our feet down for a long time after that. You see lots of sharks, lots of turtles. I saw a sunfish once, which looked like a great white to me at the time, and I really got scared. But there's a lot of whales. I mean, it's fun. I mean, it's beautiful in Hawaii. This beautiful water, you can just look down deep. Dolphins always want to race with you as well, which is fun.
Well, on the show, which is on Supersport next week, Wednesday, we're going to show you a hot clip, and this is a really cool bit of clip. You talk about seeing the wildlife. These guys are pushing out at Simonstown, and they ran into a whole bunch of seals. This is an amazing bit of footage here. This is the sort of thing that you can't expect, but when it happens, makes you realize why it's worth pushing out into the sea. I mean, it's really special. Oscar, will you ask a little bit of Trivial Pursuit questions here? The collective noun for seals is?
I would say a pod.
It's a pod of seals, amongst many others. Well done, you pass. Please move to the next section of the competition. But these are amazing scenes here. We get dolphins off Durban virtually every week as well, which makes it really special.
No, it is special.
Remember, you can submit your video clips to us. We select them to be played on this show, also on the Supersport show. They're so easy. If you've got a video clip, and so many paddlers are paddling around with video cameras nowadays, all you have to do is YouTube it first of all, and once you've YouTubed it, then link it very simply to our Facebook page, and we'll browse through those regularly. We've got a fantastic clip of some guys going down the Yuxkay when it was an absolute flood and getting mauled in Rambos. I think that's one that's coming up, so thank you for submitting that. And keep those questions coming for Oscar. Oscar, what's next?
I had a bursa in my finger, which I had operated on yesterday, which is a procedure. I think he's got half the stuff out. I might have to go back. So I'm not going to do US Surf Ski Champ. I think my next big one, I'm going to race in Sweden. There's 2 races in Sweden, which I always go. There's Sea Masters race, and there's a race in Malmö, south of Sweden. That sport's growing there. And then from there, I'll go to Sardinia, to the Ohana Cup. It's quite a nice race. And now this year they're doing it downwind, because every year it's been sort of into the wind or all over the place. And it's growing, you know. And then from there, I go to Mississippi and do a 42-kilometer flat water race in a surf ski. That's going to be fun. and then from there, I'd say the Dragon Run, and then I have to start training for the Monaco in May, you know. So, and this year they're going to have it over a 5-day waiting period, because there's going to be no escort boats. There'll be obviously 10 or 15 boats, because people don't want to fly all the way to Hawaii and spend all this money and have a flat Monaco, because 99% of the time it's howling. I mean, even this year, 2 days after, it was blowing 35, 40 knots, which is fantastic, you know, and we would have done under 3 hours if we had those conditions. So with a waiting period, a person goes to Hawaii and they know over 5 days they're going to get a fantastic race.
You'll nail a good one.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah. The ICF is getting involved in surf ski now, and this year is having the first ever surf ski world championships, but it's happening in
Porto.
In Porto, that's right.
July, August. I'm happy that they're doing it, and I'm happy that they're getting involved, because I really think that surf ski paddling is the easiest way to get into the Olympics, because there's no cost. And Olympics is about cost. I mean, to put up a sprint course and a slalom course costs billions of rands, tens of millions of dollars. And all we need is to be with the yachtsman, and we can have a 2-week waiting period. When the wind blows, we go downwind. We're going to have lots of escort boats, lots of cameras, and I'm sure it's going to take off like you can't believe. And it's a nice spectator sport if we had lots of cameras. And so it's the racing like a marathon, but you're also catching waves and having fun and going fast.
But out of necessity, does it have to be a good downwind surf ski event?
Yes, because that's the most fun. And if it's flat, what is it? Might as well go in a dam and a river and call it World Marathon Champs. Yeah, call it World Marathon Champs. There's enough races for that. I'm hoping, and they say, and I questioned them. I said, listen, down the road, 300 kilometers away, is a place called Tarifa, which is where the windsurfing and kiteboarding capital of the world is, and it blows every day 20 to 30 knots 70% of the time. Now, I'd rather have it there so that people would experience it. I'd hate some guy coming out of Europe as just a marathon paddler winning a Surski race where a guy like Busto came to a flat Dubai and he trained for 3 months on a Surski and he brought his own TV crew there and came 42nd.
Yeah.
And he actually I took a bet. I said, you won't come in the first 5 and you'll never beat me. You owe me lunch if you come. He couldn't believe it. He actually thought I was joking. I said, you wouldn't come nowhere. And he'd been training flat out and he lives on the sea.
Did he have the humility to buy you lunch?
He still hasn't. He was a tartas.
Couple of minutes to get your questions. Remember using Twitter, Facebook or the website. Oscar, do paddlers dope? Are you aware of any doping problems in South African canoeing? Do you have suspicions?
I've
I'll
actually
tell
got,
you that came from.
Yeah, no, I wouldn't. I'd say no. I don't. I mean, the only guy that I know that ever got tested was Wayne Volek for taking some cough mixture at the time or something like that. But I don't think it's rife in our sport. You never know. And again, the only reason why you would take some of these things is to go in the Olympics for short sprinting. So there's not a lot of those people anyway. And I don't know how much drug testing they do. And I don't think it's necessity. I mean, I think there's not enough money for people to take drugs. I mean, that's where invariably it comes. In cycling, you're making millions of pounds or dollars. Canoeing, you're not making a lot. But in some countries you are, so that's why they're prone to that. But I don't think in South Africa it's a problem.
And Best for having back the first pro team is a great way of getting that no-nonsense protocol in place.
Yeah, I think that's essential. I mean, it's just terrible to think a guy like Nathan Bagley was taking steroids. And I always wondered why he was so close to me at Molokai. Now I knew why.
Oscar, this is something you've got to try if you want every damn thing else. Down at New Pier the other day, we had a very unusual competition because it was the first time that the national wave ski champs had been held alongside the national stand-up paddleboard surfing champs. And I think you were down at the beach that day. It wasn't the greatest surf, but this is a great option for paddlers to get into. I mean, wave skiing is seriously good fun. Let's look at some of the visuals while we talk through it. Have you ever tried wave skiing?
No, I did. I was like South African champion, junior champion when I was about 10 or 12 years old. Yeah, and I did it flat out. I used to do it every single day, 7 days a week.
And somehow it's petered out. It's
because I mean,
its tinsel.
you see what happens is that if you're going to do it, you might as well go and surf, which I do. I surf as opposed to paddling on the waves, and then when I want to go paddling in the waves, then I get my ski and I go downwind and I go really fast. It's a lot of fun. I mean, as I say, again, it's one of those sports again that if you're small, you're going to do better than if you're big, because the boats have to be nice and short, so they're nice and maneuverable. But it's a fun sport. I did it for many years, and I used to use a Tony Scott paddle ski that we made, and we did all these things, you know. So I remember I did boogie boarding for South Africa as well, so that was fun. And this is the same sort of thing. I like being in the ocean and catching waves.
And
I like surfing.
A lot of ways, if it is a toss-up between getting a surf ski or getting a wave ski, I mean, you're not going to really damage this boat, and it's a lot closer to surfing than it is than
oh, absolutely,
surf ski paddling.
yeah, it's a lot closer, and it's fun. I mean, stand-up's also another
Have you been
one.
on a stand-up?
Yeah, I've got stand-up as well. So.
Not like this, though.
Yeah, like this.
Unlikely, Oscar. I mean,
surfing like that?
Yeah.
No, that's not that difficult. It's the surfing with a paddle in your hand, so it's just a little bit harder.
Okay, if there's anybody out there that has got footage of Oscar Chalupsky doing this sort of stuff on a stand-up paddleboard, please
I'm not the best.
Submit it.
No,
he's backpedaling already now.
No. You just say this, and I mean nonsense. It's like I'm not as good as Geordie Smith at surfing either.
But it's good to see the amalgamation of the stand-up paddleboarders in the series races, because we share something in common, and I feel for them when we push out for an 18K flat pull and they're on a stand-up paddleboard. That's hard. A proper workout.
That is a proper workout. No, I don't know. Sure. Couldn't see myself doing a long distance stand-up race. And when they have their first headwind race, it's going to be fun to see how they go.
But I mean, the stand-up paddleboards is quite a technical game. It might appeal to you because you've got a quiver of 6 different boards that you would take out depending on different conditions.
Exactly. Because my friend Marshall Rose is 65, and he did a race in Hawaii when I got there, and he came 5th or 6th, and he was coming 3rd or 4th, and he's 65, hasn't been training. So you can see that paddle ski or surf ski paddlers are much better at stand-up than surfers are, because they actually understand how to catch the runs on long distance races, not in those ways.
Sorry, Oscar, time is running out. Now I'm going to throw in as many questions as we possibly can. Oscar, surely we need a permanent sprint course. Somebody's got to find money for a permanent sprint course. And I think they're trying to say an artificial course.
No, again, I don't believe that. I mean, and the perfect reason why I'm saying is that Greg Barton didn't have a fancy course, and he produced 2 Olympic golds, and even in New Zealand they haven't, and they've produced lots of guys, you know. So yes and no, you must have it, but I mean nowadays it's so easy. You've got your GPS, you've got satellite to do your own course. You only need 1 lane or 2 lanes to train, you know, to get the right distances and things like that. I mean, there's a lot of, yes, I mean, it wouldn't help, but now where we have it, you know, provincialism, we have got people don't realise we've got the best sprint course in the world at Ridderplaat. Now, would you like to go and train there?
Yeah, a good point. Well, time is rapidly galloping away from us. Oscar, we're going to show a little bit more of extreme kayaking right now. You've committed to doing some stand-up paddleboard footage. We're not going to see you in a big kayak though, aren't we? A plastic boat.
No, I'm not into that. I mean, rolling and messing around in the waves. The river waves are so small compared to a 15, 20-foot wave. It's like embarrassing. And they think, oh, no, I went through this big wave at Umkama. I said, how big was it? Well, it was about this big. Well, it covered my head. I said, just go through a 10-foot wave and see what it's like. And catching storm surf of Durban, it makes. I've never equated it. I'm one of those people, a realist. I mean, that's not for me. Number one, the boats are too small for big guys like me as well.
Yeah.
But I mean, every man to himself. I mean, at least you getting out there. The most important thing about our sport is getting out there, getting fit and enjoying it, having the fun. And it's hard to win in this sport.
Okay, Oscar, you're commentating. We're going to have a look at some of the visuals. These are some of the best guys in the world. They have an ongoing pursuit called the Search for the River God.
Is Steve Fisher in this?
We'll have to have a look. These are... So let's have a look at some of these guys. This is actually part of a trip that went into Iceland where they wait for snowmelt.
And then
Iceland is actually called the Kingdom of Waterfalls. As a sensible canoeing practice, how does that rate?
To me, a log would do just as well. Because they'd also just fall over. I mean, that's a bit of skill because you've got to go through. But what I'm saying, a lot of these guys are going down rocks where it doesn't matter what you're doing. If you hit a rock, it's pushing you. I mean, that is skill. Those are skills. But when you go in a waterfall, you've got no control. I mean, how's that?
I mean, you've got to have kahunas of steel to be able to go over something like that.
You've got to be flipping cooked. Is the only word. I mean, look at that. I mean, what chance have you got? I mean, and the guys break their backs and breaking this. I mean, it's because I don't know if you saw that I'm in the final of the Paddle of the Year in USA.
Yes.
And half of the people are these guys. And what are they doing? Half of them are recovering from broken backs. It's the most amazing thing. Let's go and look at it. I think it's the canoe and kayak Paddle of the Year, and they're all these young guys, 16 and 17 and 20-year-old guys.
You were nominated for the ICF paddler, weren't you, in the month you won Molokai? Or
I don't know. I know I got that paddler, canoe and kayak paddler in America, so it's going to be interesting to see.
Is there a public vote for that?
Yes,
can we
you
wait?
I think you can vote. I mean, I don't know. I can't remember what the website is. canoeandkayak.com, I think.
Okay. Well, time is rapidly escaping us. We've used our hour. Thank you for your company. Don't forget, if you want to see more of these River God footage, what you need to do is to go and catch up with the Supersport show in South Africa. It's broadcast next Wednesday at 8 p.m. on Supersport 6. There's a great feature on that, and you can actually hear the guys talking about these experiences shooting not only the waterfalls in Iceland, but also the opportunity to see them going through an incredible bit of Mexico, where they are paddling through this turquoise blue river. This is mind-blowing. I mean, look at this sort of water. This is why we paddle, to get into moments like this. Maybe that's a little bit too up close and personal. Yeah. That all happens in the Supersport show of Best 4 Beyond the Paddle, which premieres next Wednesday, 8 p.m. Catch it, and then there are a whole bunch of repeats. If you've missed the show, or if any of your friends have missed the show, or if they missed the Supersport show, they can catch podcasts on the website at www.beyondthepaddle.co.za. Don't forget, there's also a great opportunity to win some prizes, and this month our product review is actually one of the new Oregon Scientific video cameras, which we go through a thorough product test of. A really handy, in fact, since Oscar is a science fundi, it's a really handy training aid because not only does it shoot your paddle in full HD, but it's got a GPS unit built in which very accurately tracks your speed, your acceleration against time, and there's a lot of very useful data that comes out of it. And if you were to have that strapped on the nose of the boat during a sprint session, not only do you check out your technique, but you can measure your technique against actual speeds down to tenths of a kilometer per second, which is a very useful tool. And if you want to try and win one of those brand new Oregon Scientific mini cameras, go to the website right now. You can enter that competition, simply send in an entry, and you could be the lucky winner of the Oregon Scientific Mini HD camera, which you can strap onto your helmet, strap onto your boat, record something special, and send it to us. Oscar, we've got to go. Thank you for being with us. It's been a real pleasure. We look forward to doing it again next year once you've won your 13th at age 50, which will be some sort of a milestone.
That'll be ridiculous. Well, you never know. I'll set that as my goal and I'll see if I can do it.
Okay, 2 things have come out of the show. Nicole's committed to doing a doozy, which a whole bunch of our listeners have already picked up. And Oscar is committed to returning once he's won his 13th at age 50. Thanks for being with us.
Thank you very much, Dave.
Thank you once again for joining us on Best 4 Beyond the Paddle. Catch podcasts on this website if you didn't catch all or any part of the show. And we'll see you on SuperSport next Wednesday night, 8 o'clock on SuperSport 6.
Beyond the Paddle, powered by Best 4 nutritional supplements. Good, better, best for you and your family.